Hi everyone, so this is going to be like kind of part 2 of my reading thing of Looking for Alaska, and it's chapter 2, and I'll probably have to split this into 2 because there's like 18 pages, and yeah, 128 days before. Florida was plenty hot, certainly, and humid too. Hot enough that your clothes stuck to you like Scotch tape, and sweat dripped like tears from your forehead into your eyes. But it was only hot outside, and generally I only went outside to walk from one air-conditioned location to another. This did not prepare me for the unique sort of heat that one encounters 15 miles south of Birmingham, Alabama, at Culver Creek Preparatory School. My parents' SUV was parked in the grass just a few feet outside my dorm room, room 43. But each time I took those few steps to and from the car to unload what now seemed like far too much stuff, the sun burnt through my clothes and into my skin with a vicious ferocity that made me genuinely fear hellfire. Between Mum, Dad, and me, it only took a few minutes to unload the car, but my unair-conditioned dorm room, although blessedly out of the sunshine, was only modestly cooler. The room surprised me. I pictured plush carpets, wood-panelled walls, Victorian furniture. Aside from one luxury, a private bathroom, I got a box, with cinder block walls coated thick with layers of white paint and green and white checkered. A bunk bed of unfinished wood and vinyl mattresses was pushed against the room's back window. The desks and dressers and bookshelves were all attached to the wall in order to prevent creative floor planning and no air conditioning. I sat on the lower bunk while Mum opened the trunk, grabbed a stack of the biographies my dad had agreed to part with, and placed them on the bookshelf. "I can unpack, Mum," I said. My dad stood. He was ready to go. "Let me at least make your bed," Mum said. "No, really, I can do it. It's okay. Because you simply cannot draw these things out forever. At some point, you just pull off the band-aid and it hurts, but then it's over and you're relieved. God will miss you," Mum said suddenly, stepping through the minefield of suitcases to get to the bed. I stood and hugged her. My dad walked over too, and we formed a sort of huddle. It was too hot, and we were all too sweaty for the hug to last terribly long. I knew I ought to cry, but I'd lived with my parents for 16 years, and a trial separation seemed overdue. "Don't worry," I smiled. "Eyes are going to learn how to talk right Southern." My mum laughed. "Don't you do anything stupid," my dad said. "Okay, no drugs, no drinking, no cigarettes." As the alumnus of Culver Creek, he had done the things that I had only heard about, the secret parties, streaking through hayfields. He always whined about how it was all boys back then. Drugs, drinking and cigarettes. It had taken him a while to kick smoking, but his badass days were now well behind him. "I love you," they both blurted out simultaneously. It needed to be said, but the words made the whole thing horribly uncomfortable, like watching your grandparents kiss. "I love you too. I'll call every Sunday." Our rooms had no phone lines, but my parents had requested I be placed in a room near one of Culver Creek's 5 payphones. They hugged me again, Mum, then Dad, and it was over. Out the back window, I watched them drive the winding road off campus. I should have felt a gooey, sentimental sadness, perhaps, but mostly I just wanted to cool off, so I grabbed one of the desk chairs and sat down outside my door in the shade of the overhanging eaves, waiting for a breeze that never arrived. The air outside sat still and oppressive as the air inside. I started out over my new digs. Six one-story buildings, each with 16 dorm rooms, were arranged in a hexagram around the large circle of grass. It looked like an oversized old motel. Everywhere, boys and girls hugged and smiled and walked to each other. I vaguely hoped that someone would come up and talk to me. I imagined the conversation. "Hey, is this your first year?" Yeah, I'm from Florida." "That's cool. So you're used to the heat." "I wouldn't be used to this heat if I were from Hayes," I'd joke. I'd make a good first impression. "Oh, he's funny, that guy. Miles is a riot." That didn't happen, of course. Things never happened like I imagined them. Bored, I went back inside, took off my shirt, lay down on the heat-soaked vinyl of the lower bunk mattress, and closed my eyes. I'd never been born again with a baptism and worshipping and all that, but I couldn't feel much better about being born again as a guy with no known past. I thought of people I'd read about: John F. Kennedy, James Joyce, Humphrey Bogart, who went to the boarding school, and their adventures. Kennedy, for example, loved pranks. I thought of the great perhaps, and the things that might happen, and the people I might meet, and who my roommate might be. I'd gotten a letter a few weeks before that gave me his name, Chip Martin, but no other information. Whoever Chip Martin was, I hoped to God he would bring an arsenal of high-powered fans, because I hadn't packed even one, and I could already feel my sweat pooling on the vinyl mattress, which disgusted me so much I stopped thinking and got off my arse and found a towel to wipe the sweat with. And then I thought, well, before the adventure comes the unpacking. I managed to tape a map of the world to the wall and get most of my clothes into drawers before I noticed that the hot, moist air even made the walls sweat. I decided that now was not the time for manual labour. Now was the time for a magnificently cold shower. The small bathroom contained a huge, full-length mirror behind the door, and so I could not escape the reflection of my naked self as I leaned in to turn on the shower faucet. My skinness always surprised me.